It's a tool I've wanted to have in my little shop here for a long time, and I found one for sale on Marketplace, and I just got back from picking it up. Let's check it out. It is an Atlas lathe, a 6-inch lathe, and I got it from a guy. He really didn't know anything about it. He bought it and says he never used it. So it's got a motor that goes on there, electric motor. It's not mounted or anything. I kind of think I'm gonna have to figure out how to rig it up. That end piece of plastic guard there was broken. It looked like someone tried to epoxy it together or hot melt it together. So that just covers the belts. I don't think it's a big deal. But yeah, and this is it. This is how the little lathe works here. I don't know, I paid 300 bucks for it. I was happy about that. But that's kind of the deal. So I got to find a place to put it in a garage. Maybe it needs its own little table. And I got to figure out how to motor mounts on there. And then, you know, I have a little project for it, which is make a pin for the Gravely wing mower, so we can finish that project. So that would be fun to test it on. It's just taking a piece of 3/4 inch round stock and maybe taking 2 or 3 thousandths off of it. So I think that's a good starter project for this lathe. But yeah, that's kind of the deal, you know? So I'm pretty excited about that. So I found a manual for it on Keith Rucker's vintagemachinery.org website. So I'll download that and see if I can't figure out how to hook up the motor. And I'm gonna have to get some tooling for it because I don't have any cutters or anything. So I'll have to figure out how that all works, and we'll go from there. Atlas 3950 and serial number 2061. Well, maybe it's a pretty early one if it's got a low serial number like that. Made in USA. That is freaking mint. Anyways, it has this little key for the chuck that came with it. And that's about it. Somewhere it has a thing for threading down there. The compound's a little bit tight. It probably needs some oil. And here's your dialing in. I guess this would be your going in and out here on a compound. It's got a chuck on the end. There's no key on the chuck, so I'll have to find a key for that chuck. And you know, that's it. On this end here, there's like, again, I don't really know how this works. I got to read the manual, but there's a belt cover on here. And inside here is all the different gears. I assume that this thing somehow makes it go forwards or reverse somehow. I don't know. But anyways, there's like a pulley back here for different speeds. This pulley here, I assume, moves to line up with whatever speed you're putting it on. And it must be that the motor has to mount down here on a belt somehow to actually turn this thing. But yeah, so again, I don't really know how this stuff works. I gotta read the book, but it's freewheeling like that. If I put it down, it's definitely got all the gears spinning. So I don't really know what the difference between all these gears are. There's a gear up here that doesn't seem to be meshing with anything. So I'll have to read the manual. There's some kind of lever back here for that gear. But yeah, that's the deal. Let me pull the motor out. I'll show you guys the motor. The motor that came with it is kind of makeshift here, but I don't know. Obviously a guy that doesn't know anything about electricity hooked this up. But the guy plugged it in and it worked. It turned over and everything, but I don't see how this could be a factory motor for this machine. It reminds me of a motor off a table saw or something like that, but in the belt pulley that's on there, to me, doesn't even look like it's the right size for this little belt. Let's see. Now maybe it rides down in there. Oh, this is an OEM belt. It says Clausen Corp on there, which is the maker's name on the end of the lathe. So that's cool. I kind of feel like there needs to be another piece here that connects this belt to this motor somehow. Let me see if there's any kind of nameplate on a motor. It just says AC motor. I think that's a Westinghouse. Yeah, down here it says Westinghouse. 1 horse, 1750 RPM, 15.9 amps. Dude, that's a lot of amps for a little motor like that. That's hard to believe. See if it pops my 15 amp breaker. I don't think it could really draw a ton of power, but maybe it does. Anyways, that's the motor. So we'll have to figure this out. I don't know, there's a piece of string on here. Oh, the belts, this belt is tied onto it, but this belt is like a 3/8 belt. And I don't know, it's a lot bigger than these pulleys, put it that way. Cool. The guy literally turned this on his workbench, and I saw it run. But look at the wires here. The white wire is about broken in half, and the black wire broke off. So maybe when he carried it to the car for me, the wire snapped off. I assume we can take this plate off on the end and just rewire it when we figure all that out. But that kind of gave me a laugh. Well, after doing some research on some pictures online, the pulley on the motor is actually supposed to have 4 pulleys on it, like a step pulley, just like the one on the lathe end is. So I'm trying to source the correct pulley for it, and hopefully I can find one reasonably. Otherwise, my lathe is kind of totaled. I'm not going to spend 200 bucks on a pulley and have $500 into a lathe that has no tooling or anything. I don't think that's reasonable. I think I'd be better off selling this one and looking for another one. I don't know, stay tuned. I'll throw up an update at some point, but that's what happens when you buy stuff and you're not really an expert on how it's supposed to be. Sometimes you get screwed over like that. Oh well.